After a mild start to winter, more people have now begun to use local warming centers as temperatures fall. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Winter temperatures have finally come to Thunder Bay in earnest.
And for the city's most vulnerable residents, the cold brings major risks to their health and well-being. Lee Noonan spoke with some of the organizations that are working to help keep people safe and warm through the harsh winter, and she joins us now in studio. Lee.
Thank you, Ryan. We spoke with executives at the Pace Warming Center and the Salvation Army shelter today, and both said the unseasonably warm December was easier on their organizations and the people they support. But as the mercury drops, they're seeing the need increase. At the south end of town, the Pace Warming Center is busy and getting busier. They offer a warm place to spend time, get something to eat, and socialize throughout the day. Executive Director Georgina McKinnon says most days they have a full house by 9 a.m.
As the weather is getting colder, the temperatures are dropping, we're seeing our numbers go up. So we went from about 90 to 110 people a day to 120 to 150 people a day signing in.
Meanwhile, the Salvation Army shelter across town is now keeping its Journey to Life Center open during the day so residents can stay inside. They also increased the number of emergency shelter spaces available. Executive Director Gary Ferguson says warming and shelter services are particularly important when the region's bitter cold sets in.
This is something we face yearly, is dealing with the cold, the harsh elements, the weather. It's a kind of situation where people just can't stay outside because of the conditions that are in our city in northwestern Ontario.
Cody Little has been spending time at the Pace Warming Center for years. He's safely housed now, but he keeps coming back. He credits the friendly and supportive environment at Pace with helping him stay sober.
I just get the social thing here. I get to see friends and all that, and some of the friends they use still, and I don't want to get caught up in that, so it's a safe place for me to be able to see my friends at times.
Without the warm welcome they receive at Pace, Little thinks a lot of clients here might still be out in the cold, despite the cost to their health.
We've got people coming in with frostbite on a regular basis. So thank goodness we have good partnerships with the medical community as well. And they'll come down and they'll help treat them. But yeah, without coats, hats, and good warm boots, our winters bring a lot of physical ailments to our clients.
McKinnon says there is a lack of warm winter gear and particularly men's medium and large-sized clothes. She and Ferguson are both grateful for the support they get from the community year-round, but say that come winter the need increases for clothing and monetary donations. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Well, of course, it's very important that people have those places to go. Let's bring in Fiona Gardner now. Fiona, they are preparing, obviously, for a busy season as the temperatures cool, and really, this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning. Temperatures are going to get colder than this, and this was today actually very seasonal. A low of -21, wind chills of -26. That's how we started the day at about 9 a.m. Then we warmed up to a daytime high of -12. Wind chills weren't too bad during the day because winds stayed very light. But if we take a look at what's happening, these lighter colors, those are the freezing mark. And overnight last night and into today, starting to recede. And overnight tonight, you can see these colder temperatures sinking down from the northwest. That is what we're looking at for the high -20s into low -30s that will begin starting tonight. And I'll have more details on that, Ryan, later on.
Okay, thanks, Fiona. We'll check in with you a little bit later for that information. Thank you very much.
Murder charges against a Thunder Bay man have been withdrawn in court. 25-year-old Russell Braden Muniz had been arrested by city police in connection with a fatal shooting 3 months ago. The body of 24-year-old Abdullahi Mohammed Ali of Toronto was located on October 15th at a residence in the 300 block of Ogden Street. Investigators had confirmed that a firearm was involved and said it was connected to the illegal drug trade in the city. Muniz was arrested by Thunder Bay Police 4 days later and charged with first-degree murder. TBT News has now learned that the charge against Muniz was withdrawn late last year at the request of the Crown. The investigation into Ali's death remains open and ongoing. Of the 7 local homicides in 2023, this is the only investigation that remains unsolved.
The Dryden and Kenora areas saw multiple highway collisions overnight and into this afternoon as the latest snowfall hit that part of the region. The first occurred around 5 a.m. on the Kenora bypass. OPP say a tractor-trailer lost control on the snowy highway and ended up in the ditch. Fortunately, no one was hurt. The highway remained open, but that wasn't the case after this crash, which happened just an hour later. Dryden OPP say 2 transports collided on Highway 17 west of Dennorwick. No one was hurt, but the highway was closed for about 3 hours. Then at 1 o'clock this afternoon, a car and a transport collided along the highway in Wabigoon. There were no serious injuries, and the highway was closed for less than 2 hours.
The Northwest Region OPP are getting more than $1.8 million from the province to monitor and enforce bail conditions of violent offenders across the region. The money is aimed at preventing repeat criminals from committing serious crimes while out on bail. It's part of a $24 million provincial investment province-wide.
The City of Thunder Bay has launched a new podcast aimed at better informing the public about what happened at City Council meetings. The first episode of The Minutes launched this week and outlines the decisions made by local leaders. The podcast is hosted by former CBC radio host Jeff Walters, who now works for the city's communications department. The shows are released every Wednesday after a council meeting and include interviews with city councillors and staff. Communications Supervisor Stacey Levenin assures the public the podcast will focus on education about council decisions, not opinions.
What's happening at council, why it's happening, and the process, but doing it quickly, high level, in an easy to digest format. So no matter what the actual content of the meeting is, we won't be providing opinion on anything. It's going to simply be a recap of what happened. Here's what happened. And there's a lot of complicated stuff that happens at City Council.
The Minutes is available on any podcast app, and video versions are on the city website.
Ontario opposition leaders are calling out the Premier over the province's healthcare crisis.
The NDP and the Liberals say the Ford government needs to do more to ease the strain on emergency rooms. CTV's Siobhan Morris has more.
In the season of flu, RSV, and COVID-19 slamming Ontario hospitals, opposition parties want action now from the Minister of Health and the Premier.
This is a staffing crisis. It is in part because we are without the Ontarians. 2.2 million of them don't have a primary care physician or a nurse practitioner they can go to.
The NDP leader wants the government to recall the legislature more than a month early to tackle these issues, to put an end to private nursing agencies poaching staff from the public system and charging huge fees. Stiles is also calling for a nurse-to-patient ratio.
Other provinces like BC are starting to take measures that nurses here and other healthcare workers here are looking to and saying, wow, they get it.
Government efforts to speed up credentialing and cover education costs for some healthcare workers will take time to bear fruit. But the Liberal health critic says there are ways to make a difference now.
We need to expand urgent care centers that are close to emergency departments. We need to expand virtual urgent care. The emergency department that I work in had a fully funded program that was moving people out of in-person ER visits, and that is no longer funded.
A restoration that could keep from making lines in emergency rooms longer this winter.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris. The final ship of the season left the Thunder Bay Harbor this afternoon.
The Harvest Spirit filled up with its last load of grain at the Richardson Terminal, marking the end of a very successful shipping season for the Port of Thunder Bay. Jaden Billick reports.
It's been a very busy year for the Port of Thunder Bay, with over 9 million tons of commodities shipped. Several types of cargo smashed the numbers from 2022, including potash, dry bulk, and steel pipes. Port CEO Chris Hakinen says, once again, grain was the city's main shipping cargo. With over 7.5 million tons moved, up from $6.2 million last season.
The grain was on a positive increasing trend this season, so we handled it. It's looking like probably about 1 to 1.5 million tons of grain over and above the volumes that we saw in 2022. So certainly a good sign there.
Normally at this time of year, the port would have needed icebreakers to help get the last few ships out of the local harbor. But Heikkinen says the icebreakers weren't needed at all over the past month. The lack of ice on the lake gave them the opportunity to have ships in the water at all times.
The weather was significantly warmer than you'd normally see. I think we all know that in December in this region. So that gave us a bit of a leg up, if you will, because it can be a little bit tricky some years when the ice is getting thick and you have cargo to move in these big steel ships.
The last ship left the port at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Harvest Spirit is now on its way to the Soo Locks. 2 ships will remain in the Thunder Bay port over the next couple of months. Heikkinen says they provide extra work for upgrades and maintenance. The 2024 shipping season will get underway in mid-March, weather permitting. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
The City of Thunder Bay is making it easier for residents to know when to expect snow clearing in their neighborhoods.
Updates will now be provided on the city website as crews are gearing up for heavier snowfalls this month. Vasilios Bellos reports.
While Thunder Bay didn't see as much snow this September compared to years past, January isn't forecasted to be as forgiving. It means crews will have to step up their efforts, and now the city is making it simpler for residents to know when their neighborhoods are getting cleared. The city is providing snow clearing updates on its website, notifying the public of when crews are sent out and when they should be wrapped up. City Roads Division Manager Ian Spaljerich says it'll help the public know when to expect crews in their area, as well as the threshold for when certain types of roads are cleared.
When we get about 5 centimeters of snow, we'll go out and clear those arterial and collectors. Usually that's done between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., so it takes about 5 hours to do. If there's 10 centimeters or more accumulated in residential streets, we'll go into there, and that usually takes about 72 hours after we've done those priority routes.
And with more and more winter weather on the way, the city has implemented calendar parking. Spaljerich reminds the community it is important to follow those signs so they can keep the roads clean and safe.
Calendar parking is important. It gives our equipment the room to clear the roads and make sure that larger vehicles can get through, like fire trucks and ambulances and school buses as well.
The city snow clearing website also answers many frequently asked community questions while outlining citizen responsibilities when it comes to snow clearing. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Well, Fiona, I feel that's pretty good news for residents in Thunder Bay because eventually more snow is going to be coming.
It could come even sooner than you think. We look at what has been moving through the region, and you can see there is definitely snow to the west. This is our radar for the last 24 hours or so, and it's moving slowly, but it is heading towards Thunder Bay. And temperature-wise, well, yesterday, areas to the south held on to those milder conditions a little bit longer today. Fort Frances and areas into Atikokan saw temperatures fall for most of the day. In fact, Fort Frances is at its low at -14 with some light snow, and that snow continues up to the northwest into Kenora, Sioux Lookout, Red Lake. Red Lake is currently at -16 and a wind chill of -22. We have similar wind chill values as we head eastward into Armstrong and Greenstone, although they haven't seen any of that snow yet. Lots of sunshine earlier today. Right now, well, they've got a moon and star-filled sky. As we head eastward down into Sault Ste. Marie, they're currently at -6 and a wind chill of -10. They've had mostly cloudy skies this afternoon. And then along the North Shore, it's definitely cooler as well. They're at -14 in Nipigon and Marathon. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to drop down to a low of -15 tonight. So it's actually going to be a little milder than last night's. a little milder than normal for this time of year, but the wind chill is going to make up for it. It's going to feel like -23, and we are expecting a couple centimeters of flurries beginning after midnight, and winds definitely kicking up 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. That's going to set the stage for a little bit more snow as well tomorrow. But that will also set the stage for temperatures to fall even further, and I'll have more details on that later on in the news hour.
Okay, well, it's a good thing that we have those warming centers now in full effect. Thanks a lot, Fiona. Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we return, we will shift our attention to international news. There are allegations of genocide being leveled against Israel. They're coming from South Africa, and they were heard today in the UN's top court. We'll have those details right after the break.
Israel has deliberately imposed conditions on Gaza that cannot sustain life.